back to the Cobot channel. This week we're joined by Christain Lyth from OnRobot. Hi Christain.
Hi Mark, how are you doing?
Not bad, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you very much.
Christain, can you start off by telling us a little bit about your role at OnRobot and what you do?
Yeah, okay, so I'm the UK and Ireland sales manager at OnRobot, also cover a little bit of North Europe. So what we do is we basically support our partners who are putting palletizing in, any type of solutions. We work with those guys to do that basically.
Brilliant, brilliant. As OnRobot are providing like end-of-arm tooling, what are the most common tasks that you're seeing? Is it sort of sanding or screwdriving or for grippers? Or?
Yeah, so we get a lot of inquiries for sanding and screwdriving in particular. Those are our two main tools that we supply. We get a lot of inquiries for general palletizing, pick and place, some more intricate robot solutions that we have, like this RG2 gripper here. So we do lots of different pieces, but mainly palletizing, machine tending, that sort of stuff.
I guess you're seeing the sort of horrible tasks that people don't want to do, like material removal or putting screws in, a task that are sort of starting to take off for robots, aren't they?
Correct, yeah. So mainly we're looking to do simple automation, get rid of the dull, dirty and boring tasks. Those are the tasks that we're really keen on.
Excellent. And how has OnRobot developed in the last few years to develop solutions and making tooling easier? How many different things have you added and what sort of tooling do you support?
Yeah, so we have what we call our one, I have to do this one, but we have a zero complexity system. As you can see here, we have a quick changer. So all of our tools attach and are powered and are known by the robot via that connection. We've developed numerous different tools, different payloads, different grippers, 3 fingers, 2 fingers, palletizing grippers, a whole array of stuff in that sector.
And they all locate on that same fixture?
Correct, yes.
So that must make it really flexible then for people to use, I guess.
Yeah, so I find that's one of the key selling points of OnRobot gear, is that it's easy just to click, plug and play. No matter what tool you've got, you get the quick changer connected to the robot. You can take off the tools and put another one from us back straight on there.
Really just like a tool changer, really.
Correct.
Yeah. So one of the things that we've seen is where people are perhaps using dual grippers for tending machines. What's the main advantage of using a dual gripper setup? Mainly
it's you can pick and place at the same time. So if you're doing machine tending, you can load and unload at the same time.
So reducing cycle time, basically.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's a cycle time reducer. You don't have to increase the speed of the robot. You can do it by doing 2 tasks at once, basically.
And both your grippers can work independently and also together on the end of the robot as well?
Correct, they can, yeah.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Your grippers are rated to be collaborative grippers, the ones that we've seen. What sort of limits do they have on them to be collaborative, and how do you make them collaborative?
Yeah, okay, so, for instance, it's probably a good idea to show you this RG2. So in here we have some stop sensors, so if there's anything that's clamped in between there, the gripper will stop. We also have force and torque sensors within all of our range, so if it feels a force, it feels something out there, it won't close.
Yeah.
And again, there's quite a bit of things you can do in terms of, how should I say, setting up the gripper to be collaborative.
Yes.
So you need to make sure that the force, the speed and everything fits within that collaborative section.
Envelope, if you like.
Correct, yeah.
And I noticed a lot of these are all filled in as well, so there's no trap points, you can't put your fingers in and get caught, So which is useful for people who are looking at a collaborative installation. The more products that you can make collaborative, then the better. That can be the gripper and the robot together, I suppose.
Correct. So as I say, when you put it on the end of a robot, you have to consider what you're putting on the end of that robot to make sure that it still fits within that collaborative area.
Yeah. One of the things from your catalogue is you've got a lift kit. What kind of advantages can that bring to an installation by using a lift kit with a robot? Yeah,
so if you use our Lift 100, certainly just the Z-axis, you can get extra reach with the robot, especially if you compare it with something like a UR20, you'll be able to get a really significant amount of reach with that robot. Again, as well, if you pair it with something like a palletizing system, you can mark the pallets out, and then you can do automatic pallet station detection instead of having to teach all 3 corners.
Okay.
And that's if you utilise maybe something like deploy palletizing at the time.
Yeah, we've seen some of the palletizing, do palletizing light products. It actually gives you the range extended to palletize up to like 2.2 meters, which is important if you're palletizing crisps or confectionery, I suppose.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, because the robot just wouldn't reach up that high, I guess.
That's correct, yeah.
So I also noticed that some of your grippers are vacuum based, but they don't require compressed air running to the robot. So how does that work? What are the advantages for people to use products like that?
Yeah, so all of the OnRobot products are all electric, so we don't provide any grippers with external air or anything like that. So there's an internal vacuum motor, and that generates the vacuum. They also have brakes in them as well to detect grip detected. If there's a power outage or anything like that, they will hold for as long as they can hold vacuum sealant on there. Yeah. I guess the benefit mainly is if you are working in an environment where it's difficult to get access to compressed air, or maybe it's a type of application where you're in a lab or something like that, you want to just be able to have everything all connected to the robot with no compressed air or that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Fantastic for shows as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've seen a lot of that where in packaging, particularly where people want to move something from line to line instead of having to have a compressed air line that they connect to the robot gripper. Now they've got a complete solution which they can move with the pallet truck and put it onto a different line, I guess.
Correct. Yeah. And as I say, in terms of if you're switching from different grippers to a finger gripper to a vacuum gripper, there's no need to reconnect a line or anything like that. It's just a straight click and collect.
Yeah. One of the things we touched on before was the kind of tasks that can be automated, such as like sanding or CNC tending or screwdriving. Which of those do you feel that can provide the quickest results, the quickest benefits for people?
Like I say, it really depends on the application. So that's one of the things we talked about earlier, was that some guys are looking to automate the most complicated tasks.
Yes.
So what we find is if the task is a simple, easy task to automate in terms of it's just putting something here and there, they're the ones that we feel would actually you get the best value for money on.
Yeah, the quickest payback, if you like.
Correct. And machine CNC tending, I suggest, is probably one of the ones that we are really interested in that area, because we have a lot of old CNC machines out there in the market where there's guys tending to them and they go home at 5 o'clock. So we see now a lot of people who will invest in automation, invest in a OnRobot and an OnRobot gripper to tend their CNC machine overnight as well.
Yeah, to run lights out, if you like.
Correct.
Yeah. And one of the things I suppose about your grippers being plug and play is also its speed. You can deploy it really quickly. You can get a robot and a gripper working, within minutes, rather than having something specifically designed and having to be programmed to work with the robot. So
yeah, that's the idea. The idea is that you can move the robot around. Obviously there's still a need to think about what you're doing, but you can move the robot, have it doing different tasks at more high intervals than you would say if it was an industrial robot or something else, perhaps.
Yeah, it would be more bespoke rather than being flexible.
Absolutely, yeah.
So OnRobot are one of the first partners to be UR Plus, and our UR Plus network is obviously our plug and play network. How, for OnRobot being part of that network, how does it help end users? I mean, do you see does it de-risk it for users, or does it make it easier for them to select because they know that they're going to work with a robot?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of benefits to that. Certainly the integration level with the robot always helps things out. We know that we can connect and we're up and running straight away.
Yes.
We have a lot of great UR partners across UK and Ireland who are able to offer the complete solution. So that is a real value add from us, to have great partners who sell universal robots and also work with OnRobot as well, so they can offer a complete package.
Something that's quite seamless, I guess, to put together.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's appealing to the end user, I guess, because there's, like we said, there's less integration time, there's less risk, I suppose.
Absolutely. So what we're trying to do is lessen the complexity, lessen the barriers to automation, and when we've got guys that can support the whole process, that really helps, I guess, relax the customer, de-stress them, and also de-risk it, as you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things we've seen is that perhaps somebody would buy a Cobot for a particular application, and then 2 years later they stop making that part and they want to deploy the robot into something else. Do you see the same thing where somebody might change a gripper from a 2-finger gripper to a 3-finger gripper to work in a different part of the factory? Do you see that sort of flexibility increasing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also in terms of the modifications of the grippers as well, we have a lot of partners and end users that will 3D print something on the end of these fingers.
Yes.
So we have our range of standard, but we can offer, or we can get 3D printed different fingers to do different applications.
So you could pick up a completely different shaped product just by using the same gripper, but just changing the gripper fingers, if you like.
Absolutely.
And that offers a great deal of flexibility for people as well, doesn't it? It's future-proofing the product they've bought, I guess. guess.
Yeah, and I guess one of the biggest concerns is that we get is that, oh well, you know, my application might change soon. What can I do about this? I don't want to buy a different gripper for every single application, and that's where we say, well, okay, well, this is why we have them, so you can unscrew these tips, add different ones, extend them, make them wider, whatever you need to do to fit your application, so that, of course, there's some cost in there to make your fingertips, but it's certainly a lot less than buying a new gripper every time.
Exactly, it's a huge saving, I guess, instead of having to buy a complete new gripper, you can just change the fingers on there and undo 4 screws, and that's it changed, I suppose.
Absolutely, yeah.
One of the things I saw from your website, the OnRobot vision system, it's described as a 2.5 vision system. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yes, so the 2.5D basically means it has some depth perception.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if you were doing a full-on bin picking application, that's where you need a 3D camera. And we'll be the first people to tell, hey, look, this is an application where you need a 3D camera.
Yeah.
If you're looking to just do part location, that sort of stuff, the 2.5D OnRobot eyes are perfect for that application.
Yeah.
And I guess in terms of the vision out there, there's lots of different vision systems, vision cameras out there. But from my point of view, the benefit of using the OnRobot stuff is the integration with the robot.
So that will sit between the gripper and the robot on the wrist itself.
It will do, yes.
Yeah.
You can also mount it externally as well if that's a better application, because obviously with vision you always need good lighting.
Yes.
To keep it accurate and to keep it consistent. So
So it's actually more than a 2D vision system. It's actually giving you a bit of depth as well for, you know, products are stacked or on top of each other. You can actually tell
absolutely
as well.
Yeah. So there are obviously limitations, but there is an extra bit there that you can do. That's why it's not a full 3D, but the 2.5D allows you to get some, like you say, for picking up stacked items.
Yeah, if you're picking products from the end of a conveyor, let's say, and they're overlapping, you can tell which is the tallest one, I suppose. Yeah?
Yes.
Which again is pretty useful. Are there any of your grippers that are useful for particularly palletizing solutions? Do you have a gripper that's specifically designed for that?
Yeah, so we have two main palletizer grippers. So we have what we call a VGP20, which is a vacuum gripper palletizing, so that's VGP, and the 20 is 20 kilogram payload, and that also depends on what you're picking up.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're picking up really porous boxes, you're not going to be able to get that vacuum seal.
Yeah.
So that's a vacuum, all electric vacuum gripper to do that. And again, you have 4 vacuum channels which you can control individually. Again, what you mentioned about the modifications, you can move the pads around and extend and however you want to do it to pick up whatever you want to pick up. And then we have what we call a 2FGP20, which is a 2-finger gripper palletizing 20 kilogram payload.
Is this one I've seen where it can pick from the sides of the box?
Yes,
Yeah.
So it's great for open containers
Yes.
and things like that. We also have, that also has its own vacuum generator on the side.
Okay, so it's actually a dual use gripper then, vacuum and...
Yeah, so the idea is that if you were using it for slip sheets,
So layer pads in between layers, I suppose.
Yeah, there's no need to change the gripper between that process or have another robot doing the slip sheets.
Yes.
So we get a lot of that is, well, you know, I'm picking this up, but I need a slip sheet.
Yeah.
And then again, if you wanted to automate that with different grippers, you add in all the complexity and cost to do that.
Exactly.
So that's why we've added that extra thing on there to be able to
and
do
that would just fit on straight onto the end of the robot, all controlled from our software as well, from the cab.
That's right, yeah.
Wow, it's a really good integrated solution for palletizing then, if you're going to have to pick from the side and also pick a layer sheet. As you said, you would have had 2 completely separate grippers before.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's one of those things as well. If you don't need to use a slip sheet, it's great for that open container. But yeah, absolutely. In terms of when you're integrating it into your UR, you don't need to worry about the control, shall I say.
Yeah, and palletizing is quite an interesting field at the moment, isn't it? Because one of the big things that people are interested in is welfare for their staff. They've got highly automated packaging lines, but at the end of the line, they've still got a guy lifting the box off the end and putting it onto the pallet. And those are one of the areas that, even though it might be only like an 8-kilo box, over an 8-hour shift, you're actually using your muscles and wearing your joints out quite a lot, bending and lifting to put those things on.
Yeah, it was interesting actually. I saw something on you posted on LinkedIn about the height as well, compared to where you're holding it. Of course, in the middle you can pick up more weight, but if you're picking up above your head, it's a lot less. So of course, as that pallet gets higher,
yes,
the weight that you should be picking up is, or the mass, shall we say, gets less.
Yes.
So absolutely, in terms of automating that, it is a certain big key factor for a lot of companies and end users now for the welfare of their staff.
I think it's not so much about getting rid of those people from the end of the production line, it's actually giving them an easier task to do further up the line and let the robots take the strain for the end.
Yeah, yeah, we have this discussion a lot. So customers or people will say, "Oh, you're taking my job." Actually, we find they move to other jobs to do something more productive, more interesting.
Yeah.
And again, in terms of the staff shortages as well, staff shortages to get people to do those monotonous, dull jobs is very difficult now, especially over here.
Well, it is. I mean, we talk about there's something like 76,000 open posts in the UK manufacturing economy. So it's not like there were lots of people that are out of work. It's actually we can't attract people into that kind of task, I think.
Yeah.
So, you know, those kind of easy wins, like end-of-line palletizing, is something that, you know, people should look at.
Yeah, well, I also think it makes it more of an interesting job to do, or more of an interesting field to be in.
Yes.
As a younger person coming in to that environment, you can, you get to see robots working. You maybe get involved with programming, setting up. I think it's much more interesting than having a job just stacking a pallet every day.
Yeah.
Certainly for the younger generation, I think it's great to bring them in and actually show them something interesting within that factory as well, from an employer perspective at least.
Yeah, definitely. And lastly, are there any developments that you have either just come out or in the pipeline, or anything that you think from OnRobot is worth mentioning now?
Yeah, so we have a couple of new grippers coming out, mainly variations of what we've got, so higher payload to work with the likes of the UR20.
Yeah.
We also have a little bit of software, so we have some application builders for deploy, for palletizing, machine tending, and transferring, packaging. So then for simple applications, for guys where they're not looking to integrate it with a PLC or a long line of applications, it's just, hey, I want a robot to put something on a box, or put something in a box, or put a box on a pallet. Those sort of applications that we're working for there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we're really targeting at the moment, is the area where there's no automation, and there's still a lot of that within the UK line at the moment.
Definitely. Christain, thank you.
No worries.
That's all for this week. Join us next week. We'll have another interesting guest from the world of robotics.